This old PC has been sitting around collecting dust, so I decided to give it a second life. I'm turning it into a steam machine, hooking it up to my TV, and using it as a full racing rig. Let's see what I can do with it. I had this old PC sitting around. Instead of letting it collect dust, I wanted to turn it into something I could actually use. This PC has an older dedicated GPU. It also has two 500GB SSDs. We have an older CPU and 16GB of RAM. And I had one idea in mind, turning this thing into a steam machine. Nothing here is exactly cutting edge, but it should be more than enough for what I have planned. So the first step was getting an operating system on it. And for this project, I decided to go with Bazzite OS. Bazzite is a Linux-based operating system designed around gaming, and it basically turns a normal PC into something that feels more like a console, which is exactly what I wanted. I went through the Bazzite website, selected the version that made sense for this PC, and downloaded the ISO. Once that was done, I just needed to get it into a USB drive. I wanted to use Etcher to flash the ISO into the USB drive, but for some reason on the website, the Etcher just did not want to work. So instead of giving up, I went over to the GitHub page, grabbed the version that I needed, and eventually got Etcher working. Now I could actually flash the Bazzite ISO. I selected the Bazzite ISO, selected my USB drive, and let it do its thing. And after a little bit of waiting, the USB was ready. Time to install it. I plugged the USB into the PC, booted it up again, and started the installation. There isn't really anything crazy going on here. I just went through the installers, selected the drive I wanted to use, and let Bazzite do the rest. After a few minutes, we had a working gaming PC. And this is Bazzite. The first thing I wanted to do was make sure that everything I planned on using actually worked, and that's where I ran into my first problem. This is my Thrustmaster TMX racing wheel, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work on Bazzite out of the box. So if I wanted to use this PC as a racing machine, I had to figure that out. After looking around, I found a project called TMDRV. It provides drivers and instructions for getting certain Thrustmaster wheels working on Linux, so I decided to give it a shot. But before that, I let the system install all of the updates and then restarted it. Once that was done, I could finally start working on the wheel. I also noticed that one of my SSDs wasn't showing up as a Steam Games drive, so I configured that. And now both drives are available for my games. Now came the fun part. I followed the instructions from the TMDRV guide, installing the required packages, and setting up everything through the terminal. Most of this was just following the guide step by step. And there it is. The TMX was finally showing up, Bazzite was installed, the games drives were ready, and the wheel was working. So now I needed something to actually put it in. I decided to pair the PC with the G Lite Pro Racing Cockpit. It's a foldable racing setup, which was perfect because I didn't want a massive permanent rig taking over my room. After getting it, I opened everything up and started putting it together. There are quite a few pieces to this thing, but once everything was out of the box, it came together pretty quickly. And this is what the setup ended up looking like. The nice thing about the cockpit is that when I'm done racing, I can fold it up and move it out the way, which is pretty important when your living room isn't a dedicated racing room. And for the first game, I went with American Truck Simulator. Honestly, this is exactly the kind of game I wanted this setup for. I thought that this old PC would struggle running American Truck Simulator, but I was completely wrong. The performance is actually pretty solid for what GPU is currently running in this PC. I will never doubt the GTX 1080 GPU running inside this PC after seeing these results. On the top left, you can see how the system is running this game, and it's running a pretty stable 60 to 70 frames per second. But I didn't just want this to be a racing PC. The whole point of this project was to turn an old computer into a Steam machine, so let's see what happens when I start it from scratch. The PC boots up, Bazzite loads, and then it goes straight into Steam's big picture mode, and that's honestly my favorite part. I can turn on this old PC, grab a controller, and basically use it like a console. No keyboard and mouse needed. And I'm not limited to racing games either. I can just grab a controller, sit on the couch, and play something like Slay the Spire on the TV. So what started as an old PC sitting around has now turned into a Steam machine and a racing rig. And honestly, I think that's pretty good use for some old hardware. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Also, my girlfriend was playing on this machine, and she somehow beat Slay the Spire on her first try. Like, I don't know how that happened.